on and on, and of course me and Al, we going back and forth about, you know, the numbers. We're not going back and forth about anything else. We just going back and forth about the numbers. All in all, I have two companies, that reach out to me that, wanted to give me and Spence $25 million guaranteed. $25 million guaranteed up front. So a real guy like myself, I call Spence. Hey, bro, look, listen. You know what I mean? I got this company that's willing to give us $25 million a piece, guaranteed. What's up? What you gonna do? He like, $25 million, what about the back end? I'm like, dude, listen. If they make their money back, then we get 80-20. You know what I mean? It's simple math. I said, man, we got people all still in the fight. They got the fire sticks. He laughed. He like, man, I got a fire stick too. I'm like, see? I'm like, man, ain't nobody really buying, pay-per-views no more. I said, man, we get this upfront money and we good. It's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? But one thing about me and I would say the difference between me and the difference between Spence is I'm really my own boss now and he's not. He got to go through Al. He got to go through, his team and ask them if he can do certain things that I don't have to no more.
Massa Al.
I might have had to when I was with Top Rank because I was signed to Top Rank and they was my promotional company. So, of course, I had to go to Top Rank and ask them to get me this fight or do this for me or do that for me because I was obligated to do certain things by their standard because I was signed to them. But now that I'm a free agent and I'm free to do whatever I want, I'm the one sitting at the table. I'm the one that's talking directly to these high individuals. Errol Spence not talking to, Terence Crawford about the fight. Errol Spence wasn't at the table. Errol Spence can't tell you or show you a contract that, says Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, that he was there on the negotiations of. He can't do it. So he had to go back and ask Al for permission, if he can, take this big chunk of lump sum.
Don't do him like that. Don't do him like that.
Crawford, which he didn't call me back, so I proposed it to Al. I hit up Al. I'm like, Al, listen, man, I got this big hedge fund company out here. They claim they know you. Not one, but two. Two companies willing to put 20 plus million in both of our pockets, guaranteed. Al tell me straight up, I'm not letting nobody touch this fight. I'm like, all right, cool. But I'm like, why? He like, why would you want to put a ceiling on yourself? Why you want to put a cap on yourself? I'm like, well, that's not putting a cap on myself if this company is taking a risk. And, risk, high risk, high reward. If that's the case,
What's good, family? It's your man, the YB, back once again. So we just heard there from your man's Terence Crawford airing out Errol Spence. Now, I appreciate I'm kind of late with this one, but listen, this is too juicy to be all messy with it. We're going to take it slow, super duper slow, like the females like, no doubt about it, yeah? A lot of you dons out here, yeah? You trying to be raggedy looking ass dudes, jump in there like a rabbit, no rabbit ting. You man know I be go slow on some Trey Songz ting, 100%. Anyway, so off the rip, Crawford came out leaking some fire, what they call it, some fire information, and it pissed me off. There's two sides to this coin. I've been saying this. Let's be real here, yeah? In the last 2 weeks, since this all came out, it's the closest we've been to the reality of the situation. They should have been doing this. It's no good waiting until it all falls apart, and now all of a sudden, everyone want to be a chatty patty. Lead with this. Lead with, if you want to fight, and that's what I never understood. I understand, yeah, being all secretive if, A, you're going to get it done. You understand? If you know you're going to get it done, be as quiet as you want. Or number two, if you don't really want to fight. The only reason it benefits someone to be quiet is if neither party is really that bothered. Because if it was me, and if I really wanted to fight, bear in mind, people, yeah, it's not like we don't know how much these people are making. It's not a big secret. We know they're going to be making 10, 20, 30 million. So what exactly needs to be secret? The only way you need secret stuff is if there's skullduggery going on. I don't know what Al HAYMON got going on behind closed doors. Probably why. I'm not saying fair play to the guy. He does his business in the way he does his business, but things are a little bit suspect. Anyway, let's take talking about suspect, let's talk about Terence Crawford's suspect sounding ass offers. He alleges not only one company, but two hedge funds offered him 20 to 25 million a piece, guaranteed, plus 80-20 at the back end if they make their money back, which really doesn't make sense, because what is define making your money back? To pay them to 25 million, that's 50 mil off the rip. You haven't even bought the rest of the show yet, and you know what I'm saying, and MSG or wherever it is, and all the other things. You're probably looking round cost 60-70 million. That's just let's call it 60 million. 225, that's 50. Even if we just say the cost is just the fighters, that's 50-55 mil. You haven't even started. Obviously, no hedge fund is in the business to make less than 20% a year. So they need to make their 20% on top, which is 10 mil. So you're looking at 60-65 mil before we even started. Let's make it nice and simple. $100 per pay-per-view, yeah? That's 650,000 pay-per-views just to break even. 650,000 pay-per-views just to break even. And even then, it don't make no sense, because we know the network, you think the networks ain't eating. The networks, they want their 10, 20, 30% on top of that. So you really, your base, you know what I'm saying? You're looking at 800,000 buys just for everyone to be nice. So, that in itself implies, YB, what do we care? We don't care. I don't care if some goofy low IQ hedge fund wants to come up and waste some coin on the table. My issue is, number one, the hedge funds, who have $100 million. To be fair, $100 million isn't that much big money in all fairness, but still, what's the name of them? The way I guess you could argue, well, they want to be secretive, and I don't know about that one. I guess internally between Terence Crawford and Al HAYMON, maybe he shared the name. Either way, he did say Al HAYMON said no. So I have to be honest here. Obviously, as long as T's and C's were complied with, i.e. there is escrow, i.e. there is the funds are legit. If they've got a legit hedge fund and it's legitimately registered with the SEC, or do you know what I'm saying? If he's got proper, the speculation is that Terence Crawford has been working with Kinahan. Now, obviously, that money is Kinahan money, which I've got to be honest here. For someone to come out and be prepared to put up that kind of money, it does sound suspect. It does sound like some sort of money washing arrangement. Because Errol Spence, to some extent, does numbers. Terence Crawford don't do no numbers. So where is he getting his link from? Also, at the time when this came about, Terence Crawford, out of nowhere, probably since he's been a free agent, started linking up with the MTK guys, Kinahan guys. All of a sudden, his name started becoming linked. Is it a coincidence? No one else has been trying to pay Crawford 25 mil for a guarantee. Do you understand? Again, we don't know the internals. I do have to say, though, from our point of view, if Terence Crawford did, or if there was the ability, to have an escrow, to have a license, if it was a licensed hedge fund who has escrow and everything else, I think Al HAYMON potentially messed up. Particularly when Terence Crawford said they get 80-20 of anything over and above. So you haven't even capped the back end. But again, I wasn't born yesterday. This deal to me sounds like it was too good to be true. I'm going to be honest here. Too good to be true. It could also be, look at Triller. Triller was coming along, we're paying Jake Paul $50 million, and a lot of their man didn't get paid. So there's also a lot of that going around, but again, that's why I said, assuming T's and C's were complied with, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford should have bit his hand off. So I do have to say that Al HAYMON, obviously, I have to agree with Terence on this basis. Al HAYMON is a control freak. And Errol Spence, based on this, bear in mind, in the next few weeks, we've got more videos coming soon of Errol Spence's response. But based on this, it's hard not to conclude that Errol Spence, you ain't, oh man, I'm my own boss, and I got man down promotions, and I'm my own boss, you ain't your own boss. Al HAYMON daddy. And that's why I never rated. Back in the 90s, there's videotapes of several individuals signing contracts live on the BBC, live on TV. That's what we need to go back to. I saluted Ryan Garcia a few weeks ago. He said to Tank, me and you, let's get public. Tank, he ain't won that one. Clown. And now now Wank Davis is fighting some bum. Shock. And Terence Crawford. And again, I do have to say this. Yeah, this deal sounds all great, yeah. Terence. It's no good once you've booked. My beef with Terence is, yeah, Terence weren't saying nizzy. He was say less before it fell through. Yeah? In fact, him and Errol Spence were saying, yeah, it's going to happen and the fans need to get a life and everyone needs to back off. Now all of a sudden, I mean, why wasn't... Listen, if I speak to Al Heyman, yeah, and he just flat down turns down a wicked deal, I'm going to say, Al, you've turned it down. I mean, you haven't presented any other wicked options. I mean, Terence Crawford said himself, I've been saying this. You got these other goobers like Mike Coppinger coming out and saying, the contract's done, but this little bit's a tie-up. Coppinger's been saying that for like 2 months straight. For 2 months straight, yeah, Mike Coppinger been saying, everything's done, it's just minor details. He's been saying that. Guess what your man the YB was saying? Your man the YB was saying, the only problem is the coins. I mean, it's not rocket science. I'm not going to try and pat myself on the back, but it's always going to be the money. Terence Crawford said it himself. Yep, everything done, just the money part side of things. But that does make me question, if everything was done and it's just the money, what's Terence Crawford saying here? Is Terence Crawford saying, I mean, Errol Spence's side, they're just going to offer you 60-40 or 55-45 or 50-50. That's what they're going to be doing. I guess though, later on in the video, he does say that he was struggling with signing the deal because of the disclosure or whatever. Either way, in response to this video, bottom line is, Al Heyman, he Errol Spence daddy. Yeah? That money is big money. And I think he's abused his position to some extent. If they was genuinely offering that, he should have been on it, in my opinion. But again, Al Heyman, he don't want to lose control. Al Heyman ain't trying to lose no control from no one. Yeah? And can you blame him? If you've got a fighter in contract, and that's why I do, people slag Eddie Hearn off here, but whatever anyone says about Eddie Hearn, guess what? He does things like this, yeah? Eddie Hearn had Devin Haney in the contract. Devin Haney need to go to Australia and fight Kambosos. Eddie Hearn lets him go. I rate that. Eddie Hearn, people slag, Eddie Hearn, slave master. Listen, Eddie Hearn hasn't... Show me an example, yeah, of an Eddie Hearn fighter being given a wicked offer, like 25 million guaranteed. No risk. You know you're making 25 mil and might make some extra change on the back. When have you seen Eddie Hearn turn that kind of deal down? Never. And the fact that Terence Crawford didn't say, Al said he'll look at it. Terence Crawford said, or Al Heyman, I believe Terence on this one. Al Heyman said, no, I'm not letting no one else in on this one. That's a control freak move. The fiduciary move, if Al Heyman was thinking about his clients and not his ego, he'd have said, show me what you're working with. Show me the escrow. Show me the registered license. And if all the infrastructure is there, them will decide. That's fiduciary. Fiduciary isn't, my name's Al Heyman, I work with Floyd Mayweather, we've both got Napoleon complexes. No, I'm keeping all the control. Weird ass dudes. People would rather make less money but have control, and that is another thing. There has been allegations over the years that Al Heyman's into some skullduggery himself, which would make sense. If he's cleaning some money somehow, why is he going to let such a big event go to waste? Yeah, if you're running money in some money laundering hustle, why are you going to let some next dudes? Why is Al Heyman going to let Kinahan wash 50 mil? Yeah, 50 mil is a big amount of money in that game. He ain't gonna let a great big event, big juicy $60 million event go to waste. No way, Jose. But anyway, end of the day, man, Errol Spence, drop the cap back. Your own boss, you ain't no one boss. Yeah, Al Heyman daddy. Al Heyman daddy, Al Heyman boss man. Yeah? You end of the day, Errol Spence, you call Al Heyman Massa Al. Massa Al 100%. And I rate Terence Crawford because, to be fair to him, he did say, listen, I ain't gonna sit here and completely front. I was Massa Bob Arum as well, 100%. So I rate that because he's not... Often people, yeah, they can be hypocritical. Slag someone off when they're doing the same thing. Salute to Crawford. He kept it a trilly, 100%. Anyway, more videos to come soon. In fact, the last thing I'll say is the whole pay-per-view numbers thing. This fight, I mean, Fury and Wilder 3, I think, did 800,000. That's the problem. You never know with these numbers, do you? Did Fury and Wilder 3 do 800,000? I don't know. I don't know. There's so many lies going around, is there? There should be a body, really. There should be it just published. Do you know what I'm saying? But you hear this guy says this thing, and there's never an official source of what the actual numbers were. I don't know why there isn't, but innit? A few days after the fight, you hear this number, then you hear that number. They're never the same number either. My point is, I agree with Terence. Every day, yeah, the youth are growing up. Every day, the elder generation, who were used to the 80s and 90s paying pay-per-views, they're dying off. And everyone, yeah, who's pretty much 30 and below, they be streaming. And that's only getting bigger. So I find it hard to believe that 2003, yeah, there were no streamers. And fights like Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis did like, what was it? I think Lennox, was it 1 million or 2 million? I'm not sure, but either way, there was a lot of them big fights back in the 90s when there was no fraud. They was doing like 1 million. Now, you want me to believe you're hitting 800,000? I don't know. I don't know what to say. It could be, but I'd bet against it. So Crawford and Spence, to be fair though, allegedly Spence be doing 350 with Ugas. So it might hit 600k, but again, hitting 600k, that only equals the 25 million. So you ain't even, why take the risk? It only makes sense to take a risk, yeah, if they're going to do 1 million. Does it do 1 million? Is this bigger than Canelo and Triple G? Is Errol Spence bigger than Canelo? No. Is Terence Crawford bigger than Golovkin at the time? No. That's the answer I come to. I think this fight's more high quality, although it's easy for me to say it now. At the time, yeah, back in 2017, Canelo and Golovkin. I mean, I'm biased. I'm biased to now. I think Errol Spence and Crawford's a more quality fight, but again, it's easy to say it now, isn't it? We've seen the fights. But I think Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, does it have that imagination? Does it have that casual? That's where to do over 1 million, yeah, you must bring casuals in. You must hit that market. Does this have that? I just don't know if it does. I mean, Terence Crawford couldn't hit any market. He did like 50,000 buys with Kell Brook. Now, I'm not saying Kell Brook's a big star, but 50,000 buys with Kell Brook, 50,000 buys with Amir Khan. These numbers are weak. I think Canelo did like 500,000 with Amir Khan. You understand? So I don't know. I do agree with Terence. If everything's above board, they probably should have bit dude's hand off for the 25 mil. But like Terence said, he got a boss. Now Errol Spence can argue, well, that's why I pay Al. I pay Al to do my thinking for me. Which is, I don't know, me personally, I like to think for myself. That doesn't mean other people can't have great advice, but this completely acquiescing any power over your own life to someone else. Unless you think they're a god. Maybe that's what it is. A lot of fighters these days who have worked with Al HAYMON, they see they've got retirement set up and whatever else, and they think, because he's done some things well, that means he does everything to the best possibility. Do you know what I'm saying? Two things can be true. Al HAYMON can have sorted his fighters out. That doesn't necessarily mean he makes the absolute maximising position every time. And that's why it's so important to have someone on the inside who can read between the lines here. Anyway, end of the day, man, I just want the squabbles to happen. And Terence Crawford, he should have been saying this. Imagine the pressure he could have put on Team Spence, yeah, if he'd have dropped these lyrics at the time 2 months ago. Well, it's no good now, is it? What's the point in telling us now that you had a big wicked offer? Imagine, yeah, what would have happened if Terence Crawford come out 2 months ago and said, hey people, Al HAYMON just slapped me down. I've just offered 25 mil a piece. That's how you get the conversation started. At which point, Errol Spence may say, wait a minute, Al, you didn't tell me about this one. Let's look at that. Let's see if they got the escrow. From what I heard, Al HAYMON didn't even look into it. So again, that's why I rate Eddie Hearn ultimately. I rate Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn wouldn't let no free money go to waste. Al Heyman still gets his cut. Al Heyman's still making 20%, which may end up being 20% of a bigger pot as well. But again, Al Heyman does have them weird back ends. I've heard of Al Heyman fighters making 1 mil on their purse and then making 4 mil in back end. And Terence Crawford did kind of give that away when he said about Errol Spence. He said, oh, the minute I mentioned 25 guaranteed, Errol Spence had a boner over the back end. Oh, wait, back end. Which does imply that Al Heyman be doing something different with the back ends. It's not no drinks and no other shit. You know what I'm saying? The way Errol Spence was fiending for the back end. But yeah, let's see how it plays out. Smash the like button, subscribe, and your boy will be back.